Samsung's latest flagship folding phone looks like it has been put on a diet. The result is a transformation into one of the thinnest and lightest devices available and radically changes how it handles for the better. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 measures 8.9mm thick and short, well within the realms of a standard smartphone if you ignore the camera bump on the back. It easily fits in a pocket but opens up to turn into a folding tablet just 4.2mm thick. But at $2,000 you pay an awful lot for such a fancy device. It is an expensive, cutting-edge gadget that can, in theory, replace your phone, tablet and PC in one pocketable device. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is the closest thing to a tech inflection point we have at the moment. It is by far the best large screen foldable ever made, super thin, super light, exquisitely made, undeniably powerful and full of AI smarts, and goes straight to the top of our list of the best foldable phones you can buy. It's Samsung's first foldable to almost entirely not under-deliver on cameras, featuring the line's first ever 200MP camera. It feels like more than progress, it's a folding phone revelation. I like it so much that I find myself frantically searching for weaknesses. I probe each part looking for a place where Samsung may have miscalculated, and with very few exceptions, I can't find any weaknesses. If I had to pinpoint where Samsung trips up, it would be in two areas: the removal of the digitizing layer, which leaves the Galaxy Z Fold 7 unable to work with the S Pen, and the price, which now flirts with $2,000 in the US. That's a lot to spend for any phone, though in fairness, this really is like two devices in one, a flagship phone and 8-inch tablet, and so you might be able to justify the outlay. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 starts at $2,000, which is $100 more than the previous model in the US. There is no price hike for buyers in the UK. The base model comes with 256GB of storage and 12GB of RAM at the time of reviewing. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 is on pre-order now and ships from July 25. It's available in Blue Shadow, Silver Shadow and Jet Black, plus a Samsung Online exclusive mint. Those prices make the Galaxy Z Fold 7 one of the most expensive foldables you can buy. In the US, it now costs $100 more than a similarly configured Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. For instance, there will be deals especially for trade-ins, so look out for those. I agree, this is a lot to pay for a smartphone, but the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is not just a phone. It's also a tablet, yet so thin and light that someone glancing at in your hand might have no idea it's two-in-one. The question is, are you willing to pay more for something that is truly special? If you think the pace of smartphone and flagship innovation feels somewhat ho-hum, you probably haven't seen or touched the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. This is one of the best design upgrades I have seen in a while, not because it's radically different to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 that came before it, because it isn't, but because it's so much better in all the ways that truly matter. I will start with the physical specs because they are the most remarkable thing about of this new handset, especially when compared with the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and yes, even the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Unfolded, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is just 4.2mm thick, that's 1.4mm thinner than the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Folded, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is 8.9mm, 3.2mm thinner and the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and only 0.7mm thicker than the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Think about that, this foldable, which when folded is hiding a gorgeous 8-inch display, is almost imperceptibly thicker than a single screen flagship device. Even the weight is impressive. Between versions, Samsung shed a whopping 24 grams and the Fold 7 is even 3 grams lighter than the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Yup, 2 screens and it's still lighter than the flagship. Perhaps that shouldn't be so surprising. When I hold the Galaxy Z Fold 7 up to the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the foldable is smaller than the Ultra, which is 162.8mm by 77.6mm, while the Galaxy Z Fold 7 when folded is 158.4mm by 72.8mm. Carrying the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is now like a holding secret. At a glance, it looks like a standard 6.5-inch smartphone. It's not until you take a closer look that you notice the seam down one edge and the hinge on the opposite side. Size and weight aside, the phone feels good in my hand because of the excellent materials. Its armor aluminum frame is covered front and back with Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2. A substantial pill-shaped 3-camera array sticks out of the back. Whenever I put the phone down camera side first, it tips at an awkward angle. I guess that's the price I have to pay for a better imaging system. On the top edges, when you are holding the phone, are a pair of microphone holes, a vent, and a SIM slot. The bottom edges feature more microphone holes, a speaker slot, and the USB-C data and charging port. The tolerances here are quite something. The USB port appears to just barely fit in the space. The only buttons are the long volume rocker and the power or fingerprint reader and Gemini button. Samsung has re-engineered the hinge and it's noticeable. The phone is firmly closed when folded and has considerable but not overly resistant tension as you open it, and it snaps into position as a fully flat 8-inch tablet. Unfolding the phone, you are greeted with a flexible display surrounded by a roughly 2mm forgiving raised border that keeps the Fold 7 from making a metallic snapping sound when you close it. There is still a crease, but it's far less pronounced than what you see on the Galaxy Z Fold 6. That's due in part of the new teardrop-shaped screen fold hidden in the redesigned hinge, meaning the thin, flexible screen curves into a perhaps more forgiving teardrop shape when the phone is folded. This is likely what accounts for how it can more easily unfold to a nearly perfectly flat phone. I can only see whatever minimal crease remains at certain odd angles, and more so when the screen is off. To the touch, it's barely perceptible. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is IP48 rated, which means it can handle a sustained dunk in fresh water, but I would keep it away from dust and sand. I ran my device under a tap with no ill effects. A wider and taller Z Fold means not one but two bigger screens. The cover display is now a 6.5-inch 21:9 display that is finally indistinguishable from a standard flagship phone display. Where the Galaxy Z Fold 6 has a 968 by 2376 resolution, the Z Fold 7 cover screen is an expansive 2520 by 1080 422 ppi 1 to 120 Hz AMOLED 2x screen. It has a punch hole for the 10 megapixel selfie camera, but it does not feature an under the screen fingerprint reader that's integrated with the power button. It's a lovely, bright screen that's now wide enough to more easily accommodate a more usable virtual keyboard and fully serviceable when you don't want to unfold and use the main display. Like the cover display, the main display is larger this year. It's now an 8-inch display from the Galaxy Z Fold 6's 7.6 inches. It's also got more pixels, jumping from 2160 by 1856 to 2184 by 1968. It's still QXGA Plus and supports the dynamic 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate. While the display size now matches Apple's iPad mini, the 6th generation's mini's 8-inch screen has an aspect ratio of 3:2, while the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is now 5:6. This makes the Fold 7 more of a square as compared to the iPad's slightly rectangular display. In practice, this means that on the Z Fold 7, some videos and games may have larger black borders at the top and bottom. It doesn't bother me, but you might want to see what Netflix looks like on the phone before placing your order. The main screen is big, bright and responsive. It was useful in bright sunlight and all motion looked fluid and smooth. I left it on the default setting, which lets the system adjust the refresh rate on the fly up to 120 Hz and down to 1 Hz, which is not as energy efficient as locking in at 60 Hz. Both screens are rated for a max brightness of 2500 nits. In our testing with the HDR enabled, we got up to 2245 nits on the main screen and 2016 nits on the cover screen. Those are admirable numbers and mean you shouldn't have any trouble viewing these displays in direct sunlight. To achieve the 4.2mm thickness, Samsung made some changes to the panel configuration, most notably dropping the digitizing layer that in the Galaxy Z Fold 6 offered support for specially tipped S Pens. I was initially pretty upset about this, but I did find that I could still draw with my finger. It's not as precise, but it's not terrible, and I can still use my finger to mark up images for generative editing and sketch to image. My doodles for the latter are not as good as those drawn with the S Pen, but the screen had no trouble interpreting my rough sketch and transforming it into a very realistic mouse. I can report though that while the S Pen or any digitizing stylus will not work, a classic dump capacitive complement stylus, one you can buy for $6 on Amazon, does work with the display. It won't record pressure or angle, but it makes it a lot easier to draw. The other thing you might notice on the new Galaxy Z Fold 7 display is the noticeably larger camera punch hole. It's not only bigger in order to accommodate a better 10-megapixel camera. It was just 4 megapixel on the Fold 6. The hole is also no longer covered with pixels, so it remains visible at all times. It's positioned a tiny bit more centrally along the top edge than the punch hole on the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold's flexible display, on which the equally large hole is positioned towards the far right corner and is maybe a bit more out of sight. These things aside, I love this big multitasking screen, which has room for a couple of apps or large screen views of favorite apps like weather or maps. It's also a nice canvas for Gemini Live, which makes the most of the larger space. I also enjoyed drawing on it, streaming shows on Netflix and playing action games. The benefit of a flexible screen is that the Galaxy Z Fold 7 doesn't have to be only flat or folded, it can also be L-shaped, which I found useful when I was checking over an interview transcription which I recorded and used AI to transcribe on the fold. A 90-degree fold also proved useful for watching videos on one half of the screen, while the rest of the fold served as a steady base. There was nothing much wrong with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6's camera array. It has a nice 50-megapixel lens, a 10-megapixel and a 3x optical zoom, 10-megapixel, but I was very aware that this was a flagship class phone with a flagship level price, and it bothered me that the best camera array was reserved for Samsung's Ultra line. That is no longer the case. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 has a new camera system with two notable upgrades and one disappointment. Here's the full camera system: 200 megapixel wide camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, 10 megapixel cover screen, 10 megapixel main screen. The big news here is the new 200 megapixel sensor that, while similar to what's found in the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, has been re-engineered to fit into the Galaxy Z Fold 7's super slim frame. Like most high megapixel smartphone cameras, this one defaults to a 12 megapixel shot, combining the information from multiple pixels for better clarity, contrast and colors. It does a nice job, but there is a very good reason to shoot at the full 200 megapixel. Doing so lets you crop into almost any picture detail without losing clarity. Here you can see some camera samples of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. In the software space, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is a harbinger of releases to come. It's the first flagship to release with Android 16, well ahead of the next big Pixel launches, including we expect the Pixel 10 Pro Fold on August 20, and it also has the latest Samsung software in the form of the One UI 8. That former landmark is by Google design, with the tech giant rearranging its development flow to ensure that its big partners have these new releases in time for their latest flagship phones. As for the latter, Samsung just seems to be getting faster and more efficient at updating and improving its own Android overlay. Both platforms are also infused with AI in the form of Samsung's Galaxy AI and Google's Gemini, though where one ends and the other begins may not always be obvious. Broadly, Android is now as polished and useful as Apple's iOS. It has many of the same features, including live updates in widgets, quick share, and endless customizations. It's also a fantastic partner for the Fold because the platform is optimized for the larger 8-inch screen, so things like mail, weather, and maps all appear built for the flexible display. Even Google Gemini Live is right at home on the Galaxy Z Fold 7's main display. One UI 8 brings things like the Now bar and Now brief, a compendium of all the things you need to know at any point in the day. It's well designed, accessible, and relatively useful. I check it because the Now bar is always greeting me on my lock screen with a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and it almost seems rude not to acknowledge it by digging into the details of my brief. When I tap to open it, I see a weather forecast, a calendar of events, news of interest, and music. I can choose to add more elements from my phone, which I assume might make the brief more useful. There is, of course, a lot of AI on this phone. Google handles the circle to search and Gemini site, and the rest of the AI found on the phone is Samsung Galaxy AI. At any point, I can long press the home screen button to launch a circle to search task. After the press, I use my finger to circle something on the screen that Google search can look at and offer results related to. Gemini is summoned by a long press of the power button. It has all the strength of Gemini 2.5 Flash on the web and also Gemini Live. Gemini Live works in full screen mode on the large main display, but I find it more useful when you share your screen with Gemini Live and it then operates in the background, offering insights based on what it can see on screen and the questions you ask it. You can also just have Gemini look through the camera and see your world and ask it what it says, unless you want everyone to hear your Gemini Live conversation. This would be a good time to invest in some Galaxy Buds Pro 3 headphones if you plan to be out and about with the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Other Galaxy AI powered features remain and are little changed from the last time I tested them on a Fold. I can use sketch to image to instantly add photorealistic elements to existing photos. I added a mouse to my coffee table, although as I have mentioned it a bit harder to sketch the right image idea without an S Pen. Drawing Assist, which lets you turn rough doodles into much higher quality artwork and is another feature that benefited from S Pen support. Also still works and may not come in even more handy now that you will likely be forced to use your fingertip to make your rough sketch. Galaxy AI is rich extends to video, and I used Audio Eraser to clean up the sound on a video shot in the heart of New York City's Times Square. The capabilities more or less match those in Apple's Audio Mix tool, although how the tools pinpoint which extraneous sound to target differs quite a bit. Audio Eraser focuses on crowd noise, voices, and wind, and the results are good, though my voice did end up sounding just a tiny bit robotic, although not dissimilar from the results I got with Audio Mix, the Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max. I am naturally only scratching the surface of Android 16, One UI, and their AI capabilities, which also include things like live translation, text translation, and chat assist. Overall, though, this is a platform I could easily love. If you are already an Android fan, Android 16 will be a welcome upgrade. If you have used a Galaxy before, One UI will be instantly familiar but also improved. The AI is deeply embedded but never intrusive. It looks and feels the way I thought Apple Intelligence would be on an iPhone, and how I hope it will look the feel when Apple eventually delivers the updated Siri. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is so thin and light that combined with its larger cover screen, you could easily mistake it for a standard flagship. There is a larger 8-inch display inside, and all this plus the new camera system, the main camera finally gets a 200 megapixel sensor, make this the most desirable Z Fold yet. It's a shame too that it also the most expensive fold to date for some, and that ultimately may hold it back.